びの時代は終わる。
螺旋が
So, after we discussed and analyzed that fateful singularities like Aida and Boruto are Jippo's weaknesses, today I want to talk a little bit about some very interesting things in Chapter 23. And here is the top 7 information for Chapter 23. First and foremost is about Sumeaka, or also known as Claw Grime. Maybe this sounds unimportant or something, at least with Mitsuki defeating the Tsumeka, I put some things that might be quite suspicious. The point is, the body of the Claw Grime, or Tsumeaka, did not completely disappear but was only lying around, which might be in the form of a fragment of 10 tails on a small scale. I suspect that if indeed their consciousness has not completely disappeared. But there is a possibility that they can come back to life, or more interestingly, this could be an opportunity where other Divine Tree humans can appear through the Tsumeaka's body, like Jura. Because seeing how the last time Mitsuki defeated them, honestly, I'm actually quite suspicious of this because Mitsuki only defeated them and not destroyed or annihilated them. Yeah, you know what I mean? Second is about Bijudama or Biju Bomb Jura. This might sound confusing at first, but as it turns out, Jura's Bijudama bullet attack that we've seen so far has the disadvantage of being too time-consuming to prepare. In addition, Jura has 2 techniques for his Bijudama. The first type is a long-range shot, similar to a long-barreled rifle. Then, the second type is a close-range shot, similar to a barrel rifle. These 2 types of Jura attacks will only be more effective if they are carried out from a long distance and without the opponent realizing it. But the case in Chapter 13, Jura uses a long-range shotgun type that allows a small output but is able to deal significant damage. As long as he fought one-on-one with Boruto from a fairly close distance, these 2 types of attacks would be ineffective. Hence, Jura chose to defeat Boruto with his physical strength. Third is about Delta. Earlier, I said that Kawaki came not alone, but with Delta. Although this does not know how true it is, but if indeed Delta did not come with Kawaki, where did Delta get information about the whereabouts of Konohamaru and the others? Then what is Delta's real purpose? Is this just a coincidence, or is there a reason? But I suspect Delta came with Kawaki. Then the one who told Delta Konohamaru's location was Kawaki. Why does Kawaki know Konohamaru's location? The answer is because Boruto told him before he went to Amado's place. So after Boruto and Kawaki decided to team up against Jura, Boruto told Kawaki if he had opened his limiter, then he should immediately come to Sunagakure to help him defeat Jura. Because in fact, although this is not directly confirmed, Boruto's words to Kawaki, who mentioned that Kawaki was late, seem to have confirmed indirectly that indeed, Boruto's first strategy was to invite Kawaki to Sunagakure to fight Jura. But for the Delta case, one thing that comes to my mind if the scenario of bringing Delta to Sunagakure is to back up Sarada, who is likely to take a long time to wake up. Moreover, Tsumeka's body, which was defeated by Mitsuki, is not completely gone. But about the Delta case, what do you think, guys? Because if it is considered from various aspects, I think this is a reasonable speculation. The reason is because Koji alone does not know that Boruto will get help from Kawaki and Delta. This means that Delta and Kawaki moved not because of orders from Shikamaru, but they moved because of information from Boruto. And that's why Koji said that Boruto must have given Kawaki certain information. Because of course, this information is completely unknown to Kashi and Koji. The fourth is about Jippo's newly updated future prophecy line. In this panel, there are so many that will lead to several assumptions, but we start with Inojin first. Once we see what Inojin is doing, this scene triggers 2 possibilities. The first is that Inojin looks like his forehead is bleeding at a location where Shinki became a tree. The second is that he is using a connecting jutsu like his mother's Shintenshin no jutsu. He seemed to be communicating with someone. But to guess who Inojin was connecting with, the most reasonable answer was Shikamaru. Because for now, Ino really doesn't want to help Shikamaru to communicate with Boruto using illegal means. So if it's true that Inojin in this panel looks like he's trying to connect with someone, then it's almost certain that it's Shikamaru. But what do you think, guys? And from the various timelines that Koji has seen, apart from Inojin, there is Himawari, who is quite curious. However, based on various speculations, I actually suspect that if the background is indeed a desert, then it's possible that Himawari is in the same location as Konohamaru and the others. Or maybe she's even headed to where Boruto and Kawaki are. But for Himawari's case, it seems like this is something that could be possible. Because the last time, Koji said that Boruto was done, but the reality turned out to be different. But one thing is certain, if Himawari truly stayed in Konoha and followed Koji's instructions before the Sunagakure mission arc, then in this updated prophecy, Himawari shouldn't appear since she's already on the path or future that Koji has set for her. However, if that's not the case, then it makes sense that Jippo's update includes a prophecy about Himawari. But what do you think, guys? The fifth is the most interesting. If indeed this is not mistaken, Mamushi finally moves. And if the background is Konoha, then it's most likely his turn now. Because as we know, all the Divine Tree humans are still alive for now. Only Mamushi is left, who hasn't shown its movement to prey on its target, Ida. And once again, if indeed the prophecy about the Mamushi is Konoha, then this is the time. Because then, Damon will inevitably have to become a knight, as he once said, to protect and guard Ida. Who will win? Let's see later. The sixth is about Jura. As a pure reincarnation of Ten Tails, we should expect that Jura are most likely like Jubidara, which means they have the ability to regenerate automatically. But in fact, Jura was like any other Divine Tree man who had to return to base to regenerate his wounds. If you say he intentionally did not regenerate his wounds, does this sound strange? Because supposedly, Jura have passive regeneration, right? Seventh is Sarada and Hidari. But one thing is certain, judging from Hidari's hand gesture, there's a high possibility that the fight between Sarada and Hidari will start again soon. However, if you look closely at Hidari's hand gesture, could it be that he's actually trying to take Sarada's MS? Because the last time Hidari used Chidori, he realized he was struggling and thought that having Sarada's Sharingan would make it easier for him to control that ability. So, could Hidari really be planning to take Sarada's eye? So yeah, I guess that's the top 7 most interesting highlights from Chapter 23. If you noticed anything else that's interesting, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. I'm Nim. See you in the next video. Bye-bye. Dada bio.